Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Was Neglected and Had Dark Souls, Artorias of the Abyss Powers movie. Before we start, please go support Silver Lion 12K for writing that awesome fanfic. Izuku Yagi, the neglected son of Inko and Toshinori Yagi, has suffered mental/physical and emotional abuse, is sent to a war-torn world to either link the fire or let it die. Chapter 1. Izuku Yagi was diagnosed quirkless. After that day he lost the will and dreamed to be a hero. Neglected, abused, bullied, he tried to keep his chin up, but as the years had gone by it was getting harder and harder to do that. Through the years Izuku had worked multiple jobs to support himself due to his parents favoring his twin sister for having a powerful telekinesis quirk. The only people who truly loved him like a son were his grandparents Sorahiko and Chio. On the day he met All Might it felt like a fated meeting, but All Might seemed unhappy, thinking his son would ask if he could be a hero. "I know being a quirkless hero is impossible, but do you think I can be a useful person in society?" All Might was shocked to hear these words from his son, but decided to question him more. All Might thought that everything his son said was a lie and brushed him off while he said, "I despise liars," leaving a broken-hearted young man on the roof. Izuku contemplated on committing suicide but decided to go to the park one more time, where he would record his goodbye video on a hologram recorder. When he finally reached the park it was late, and pulled out a large bottle of whiskey so that he could enjoy his first and last drink. He then pulled out a hologram recording device and began his final message. Once done, a man who wore a three-piece suit had stumbled upon him drinking his woes away. So he only caught the last bit of the recording when he heard the young teen's voice. "Please, someone save me." The man who wore the suit approached the boy and asked what the problem was, but upon hearing the backstory he saw this as an opportunity to train another disciple of wickedness. "AFO, am all for one, but history calls me the merchant of quirks. What quirk do you desire?" "Izuku, I desire no quirk, but I'd like for you to be my angel and set me free." AFO was shocked that the young child wished not for power but to have his life end. Although the man was wicked and cruel, he had a moral code which was never take the life of a child. If a child sees him kill, he implants false memories. He saw the boy with pleading eyes. AFO was hesitant but complied with the boy's wish, but before doing it he told him, "Should we meet again, I'd like for you to set me free." After saying this he plunged a bone-like spear through his chest. AFO noticed the recording device still recording, so he stopped it, watched the video that the boy left, and he left his own message at the end. When he heard voices coming closer he teleported away. "Chio, I can't believe it, we're young again." It was none other than the former elderly couple of Gran Torino and Recovery Girl. The two got caught in an accident with someone's quirk going out of control due to an allergic reaction. "Chio, you're right, love, I can't wait to see everyone at Izuku's birthday party. They're going to freak out when they see us." "Sorahiko, did you bring Izuku's gift?" "Chio, of course, the complete hero anthology." Before Sorahiko could say anything the two got hit with a pungent scent of iron in the air. As they got closer they began to hear their steps make sounds as if they stepped in water. "Did it rain tonight?" Chio asked. Her husband shook his head no and decided to pull out a mini flashlight, only to discover it was blood. They quickly followed the crimson blood and saw the worst sight. Their beloved grandson Chio could only release a devastated shriek as she ran to the body and held him tightly, hoping he'd wake up. "Sorahiko, he's not waking up anymore, honey," Sorahiko said in a somber tone. He had called the authorities to pick up the body and also called his stupid son All Might. Upon calling Toshinori, the tone in the man's voice was joyous, as if he was celebrating. "Sora, son, I need to see you immediately." "Toshi, Dad, what's up?" "Sora, I need you to come identify a body." "Toshi, right now, but it's Izuna's birthday." "Sora, I said now, this person was extremely close to you, come to the morgue." When the call ended Sorahiko looked to his wife, who needed consoling upon losing their grandson. "Sorahiko, honey, when was Izuku born?" "Chio, today. Why?" "Sorahiko, Toshinori said today was Izuna's birthday." "Chio, that's impossible, she was born on the 16th. I should know since I delivered both of them." Sorahiko then got all his evidence. Just from that he realized that his grandson was being neglected and wished he did something sooner. "Chio, what's wrong?" "Sorahiko, Izuku was being neglected and we didn't see it." Chio then connected the dots herself, and cried even more knowing they could never make it up to him. After waiting for 30 minutes the Yagis, Bakugas and Todorokis showed up. Sorahiko, why are all of them here? Toshinori, moral support. Sorahiko, where's Izuku? Toshinori, who? Sorahiko, your son. It was as if he was smacked in the face with a brick that he began to remember his son as he was frantically trying to form search party. Sorahiko grabbed him by his shirt collar and dragged him. He's right here. They stood in front of a corpse covered with a sheet. Sorahiko had yanked the cover slightly to reveal a dead Izuku with a gaping hole in his chest. The women in the room shrieked in terror seeing such brutality on a young man. The men were ready to hurl their dinner. Before Sorahiko could say anything else, the mortician had come in. Sorry to interrupt, but this was found on the boy's person. They saw Izuku's goodbye message, then what shocked them the most was AFO's message. AFO message. AFO, hello All Might, or should I call you Toshinori Yagi? Your son's blood rests solely on your hands. This child begged me to set him free, and so I did. I know where you live. I know you and Kinetics are married, or shall I call her Inko Yagi? I can end you anytime I wish. Watch your back. Remember, keep smiling, ha 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 ha. Never before had All Might felt a terror like this as his son was slayed by his arch nemesis. He then turned to his mentor for help. Sorahiko, I'm planning my grandson's funeral, so I want help you. With Izuku. Upon waking up, Izuku was wearing what appeared to be leather armor, as he found a puddle of water to check his reflection only to discover he looked like a husk. Then suddenly a corpse fell. Izuku looked up and saw a knight. Izuku, help, I'm trapped in here. When the knight left, Izuku saw a white light coming off the body. It was the key to his cell. Let's get this started, I want to see Grandpa and Grandma. He had a broken short sword, then began to follow advice from words written in orange lights when one of the readings said Welcome to Undead Asylum. Izuku class, Hunter level 4. Vitality 11. Attunement 9. Endurance 11. Strength 12. Dexterity 14. Resistance 11. Intelligence 20. Faith 10. Chapter 2, Undead Asylum. Izuku came across another person in this prison. He awoke and he thought they were crying, but one of the writings on the ground told him to kill it. Izuku was confused until he got a close look at the face and saw that it was too far gone to be saved, so he granted it a swift death. Izuku then felt a bit of guilt from taking a life, but he had a mission, which was to find a way home. Suddenly he heard loud stomps. He turned his head to the right and saw a massive creature. What in God's name is that? Izuku asked himself. After the creature passed, he collected himself and continued to put down the undead in his way. Izuku followed the path until he reached outdoors and came across a bonfire with a unique coiled sword. Upon approaching the bonfire, he touched the hilt, which caused the fire to illuminate even more. Izuku sat down, and the warmth that was emitted made him feel like he was home with his grandparents. After finishing, he stood up and left the bonfire and walked up to an enormous door. He wasn't sure if it would open, but to his surprise his senses had told him to check the whole area before he walked in. It wasn't until he saw an open door on the far left corner. After walking in, he saw the same massive creature leap down to where he was. In fear, Izuku ran towards the open door, and when it shut behind him, he felt a sense of relief. After seeing another bonfire, he ignited it and rested before continuing on, but the major difference was that when he continued, the undead being began to fight back like the one who shot arrows at Izuku, which caused him to take cover into an open cell, which allowed him to find a large leather shield on one of the corpses. Izuku was about to rush the undead only to receive an arrow to the eye which pierced his entire skull. Izuku had fallen onto his back while the light from his other eye began to fade. I'm sorry, Grandma, I'm sorry, Grandpa, he said as his final words left his lips. Suddenly he felt the warmth of home again. With slight fear, Izuku opened his eyes and saw that he was back at the bonfire he first rested. Izuku stayed there for some time, pondering how he could still be alive. He didn't want to spend hours thinking about it, so he followed the path where the undead killed him. He decided to not make the same mistake like last time while raising his shield and slowly approaching the undead archer who fled after Izuku got closer. There was another corpse that laid at his feet. As he looked down, a bright wisp could be seen emanating from it, just like when he first awoke in a cell. The body contained a short sword, a quiver full of arrows and a short bow. After collecting better gear, he equipped the short sword and strapped both bow and arrows onto his back. When the enemy who shot at him was put down, Izuku continued and saw the night from before when he awoke in his cell. Izuku desperately called out to him, but it seemed as though he wasn't heard, so he ventured forward upstairs until a massive ball made of iron rolled at him, which caused him to roll to the right off the stairs. After killing the perpetrator, he rushed downstairs to find the knight in critical condition. "Oh, you're no hollow, eh? Thank goodness I'm done for. I'm afraid I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you and I. We're both undead, hear me out, will you?" Izuku: "Yes." Izuku knelt down to the knight to hear his final request. "Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, thou who art undead, art chosen in thine exodus from the undead asylum, mocketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know well. Now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing here. Take this, an Estus flask, an undead favorite. Oh, and this now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death, so go now and thank you." Izuku received a peculiar jar filled with liquid that glowed a vibrant orange. He decided to take a quick swig after getting hurt when rolling off the stairs. After drinking it, he felt rejuvenated, which led him to think about the second item he received, which was a key. Izuku remembers seeing a door at the top of the stairs. After a short climb, he saw a rusted door, then entered the key, which unlocked it. After taking out the hollows, he saw a massive fog door. He walked through and saw the demon below him. Izuku quickly thought about what he'd have to do to get home. After taking a leap, Izuku had his sword unsheathed, plunging the blade into the demon's head. When pulling his blade out, he rolled around the demon, hacking and slashing, hoping to eliminate it, although he had also taken damage. In a final attempt, Izuku created space and drew his bow, firing an arrow into its head, which caused it to die and fade into a 2,000 wisps that flew into Izuku. On the ground where the demon fell was a key. Izuku had used it on the door that the demon blocked. After leaving, Izuku stood at the cliff. He began to wonder how he'd get to the castle in the distance when suddenly a massive crow swooped down and carried him away until he was dropped in an area with a bonfire. "Getting home might take longer than I anticipated," Izuku said to himself. Chapter 3: Firelink Shrine. Izuku had seen a dilapidated area with a bonfire right in front of him, so he rests and noticed that his Estus flask had a stronger glow when he got it. Suddenly he was able to see information on the items he had, which to him became the biggest game changer. After resting, he saw a man across from him, so he slowly approached the stranger so he could introduce himself. "Izuku, I'm Izuku Torino." "Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival." "Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first. But there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum, but too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are actually 2 bells of awakening. One's up above, in the undead church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blighttown. Ring them both, and something happens. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead? Ha 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 ha." Izuku attempted to converse with the man again. "Oh, your face, you're practically hollow. But who knows, going hollow could solve quite a bit. Ha 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 ha. What? Restoring your humanity? Well, there are a few ways to go about it. Collect it bit by bit from corpses. Or you can butter up a cleric and get yourself summoned. And the quickest way, although I'd never do it, is to kill a healthy undead and pillage its humanity. Coveting thy neighbor is only human, after all. Ha 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 ha. What are you looking at? Don't try anything clever. You might regret it." So Izuku had left the man alone and began to explore what was around him until he saw a wisp hovering over the well. As he grabbed it, he began to inspect it. It was a pitch-black wisp. Izuku inspected it was twin humanity. Upon crushing it, he went to the bonfire and offered it as a sacrifice. Upon doing so, his flesh returned. That's when he realized if he dies again, he'd have to find or collect more humanity in order to reverse hollowing. Izuku continued to rest at the bonfire, which gave him time to plan his next move. While he stayed focused, he saw a window. With 2,000 souls, Izuku, he felt like he could boost his health, stamina, strength, dexterity, intelligence, faith. Izuku boosted his strength and stamina. Izuku class, Hunter level 10. Vitality 14. Attunement 9. Endurance 14. Strength 12. Dexterity 14. Resistance 11. Intelligence 20. Faith 10. Izuku felt stronger and full of energy. After leaving the bonfire, he decided to explore his surroundings. He stumbled upon a path which led to a small cemetery. I think I don't belong here. He turned back as he felt like he wasn't meant to go there yet. Upon turning around, he found a path that led downwards. He saw a woman behind bars while attempting to talk to her. She was quiet. Izuku just left her alone, then made his way to the bonfire area again. He saw a path leading up, so he decided to follow that route. As he walked upstairs, he saw multiple hollows. One rushed him while another attempted to pelt him with firebombs. After dealing with that annoyance, he continued upwards, only to face more hollows. Izuku had his shield up when a hollow began to swing his axe like a man. Izuku was timing his enemy's axe swing. He swatted the axe away with the shield, causing his enemy to become staggered. This was the advantage he was looking for, and thrusted his short sword through the hollow. Once all hollows had been taken care of, Izuku went into a sewer-like structure, but before taking a step inside we saw a massive rat. "Oh hell nah!" Izuku shouted when he saw the rat while he held his shield up. The creature had, but once its attack was gad past, Izuku slashed away, killing it, absorbing the soul. When Izuku noticed another black wisp on the rat's body, "Humanity," he said in a low voice, and continued to move forward into the tunnel. After finding an exit, Izuku climbed up some stairs and found himself in an area called the Undead Berg. Izuku began to slay the hollows who attempted to kill him. He walked through another fog wall and up some stairs when suddenly a dragon had swooped down briefly to burn the hollows. Buck! When the dragon flew away, Izuku ran past the scorched bodies and spotted a bonfire, but before he rested at it, he noticed that all the charred bodies had white wisps. As Izuku investigated, he had picked up a crossbow and some bolts, including 3 sets of hollow armor, which Izuku thought about selling if he came across a vendor. He jogged back to the unlit bonfire and lit it so he could rest. While he rested, Izuku thought about the function of humanity, in a sense that the more he collects, the more he'll be able to loot from bodies. Once his rest was over, Izuku noticed the once charred hollows were alive again. While in shock, a hollow with a crossbow landed a critical shot and punctured his right eye. Izuku began to flail in pain and fell to his death off the small bridge where he stood. Izuku woke up once again and saw he was seated at the bonfire he had just lit. "So the bonfire restores the world to how it was previously," he said to himself. So Izuku had to become a hardened man and get good at killing hollows. When Izuku saw a green wisp just outside where he fell from, he quickly planned to take out the crossbow hollow, then eliminate the ones who would follow him. After successfully retrieving his soul, he rested and offered a humanity to reverse his hollowing. "I'll rest for a bit, then plan my next route." Chapter 4: Nightmares/Undead Berg. After all was said and done, Sorahiko had decided to plan Izuku's funeral since it seemed like Toshinori didn't care enough. Inko looked dead inside, while the same could be said about Izuna. On the first night they fell asleep filled with guilt. During the night, Toshinori, Izuna and Inko as they were in a deep slumber when suddenly their peaceful dreams were interrupted by seeing Izuku die by being shot through the eye with an arrow or crossbow bolt. Simultaneously the three let out a blood-curdling scream. Their neighborhood were all woken up by their screams. Meanwhile, Chio and Sorahiko were blessed with dreams of Izuku becoming a strong warrior and saying, "I'll be home soon, Grandma and Grandpa." This made the couple smile in their sleep. After the long night, the Yagis decided to visit Sorahiko, but upon their arrival they noticed the couple looked fully rested while the Yagis looked like a disaster. "Sorahiko, what the hell happened to all of you? You look like shit." "Toshinori, we couldn't sleep while reoccurring nightmares." "Sorahiko, I see. Well, Chio and I can't entertain you today. We're going to pick out Izuku's casket." Back to Izuku. Izuku now being in a new area, he looked up and saw a ladder above him. This brought his thoughts that there's a way to get up there and drop the ladder to create a shortcut, but in the meantime he decided to farm souls in the area he's at. As his farming began, he noticed 2 spearmen, which made him think they were out of place. Izuku confronted both of them but was being overwhelmed at first, but he noticed all the damage they landed on him didn't kill him, so it occurred that both of his deaths were due to critical damage. Once the spearmen were dead, Izuku saw a staircase leading downward. After passing a barricaded wall, an axe-wielding hollow tried an ambush but failed after Izuku parried the axe and executed a well-timed riposte, killing his attacker. Izuku saw a path which led outside and saw another hollow sitting down. He kept his guard up before making any stupid decisions. Hello, I'm but an undead merchant. Izuku, hello, may I see some of your wares? The merchant had decent wares, but two items caught Izuku's eye. One was chainmail body armor, and the other was the weapon the merchant had on his side. Izuku, I'll take the chainmail armor. Merchant, excellent choice. Izuku, is there a way to trade you something for your weapon? The merchant looked him up and down before deciding what to ask for, then made up his mind. Merchant, do you have extra armor, a short sword, and humanity you could spare? Before answering, Izuku checked his inventory, pulled out the spare short sword, hollow armor, humanity. He even gave the merchant the crossbow and bolts. Merchant, this is more than what I asked for. Izuku, it's to keep you safe. Merchant, thank you. The merchant kept his promise and gave Izuku his sword. What surprised him was that it was a katana. Izuku decided to head back to the bonfire. Although he didn't rest, he decided to practice with his new weapon. Upon inspecting it, he learned that the katana's name was Uchigatana. After getting some practice, Izuku felt like he was ready to use it in combat. Upon resting at the bonfire, Izuku stepped out and was fired upon by the crossbow-wielding hollow. He simply cut the bolt in half, which surprised him, but it must have been due to his high dexterity level. When all hollows were eliminated, Izuku almost passed the bridge but stopped when hollows bombarded him with fire bombs. So to prevent himself from getting hurt, he sheathed his Uchigatana and switched to his bow to land headshots, killing the bombers. When all hollows along the undead berg were eliminated, Izuku found a path that led down, and he spotted a knight wearing full black armor. Before Izuku confronted the knight, he spotted an item wisp. That must be important if he's guarding it. He spoke to himself while he equipped his bow to start a long-range assault. Izuku landed 2 headshots, which he noticed the knight was bleeding heavily, so Izuku charged at the knight only to get impaled and lifted high, then slammed onto the ground. Izuku thought he was dead, but realized he was still alive. He remembered the glowing orange drink he received in the undead asylum. After taking a chug of his wounds healed up completely. As the knight was going to attack with a downward smash, Izuku timed it perfectly and parried the massive sword, which granted him an opening to impale and pay back the knight. When the Black Knight had been struck down, Izuku noticed 3 golden wisps. As he picked them up, it revealed new equipment. They were the Black Knight Sword, Black Knight Shield, and Black Knight Great Sword. Upon inspecting the swords, Izuku learned that they helped him in dealing 20% more damage against demons, while the shield had a high resistance against fire. When Izuku saw the requirements to wield his new swords, his eyes almost flew out of their sockets, but he knew being strong didn't come without a price, which meant he'd have to work hard and farm souls. Izuku then turned his attention to the treasure the knight guarded. He noticed it was a ring with a blue gemstone in the shape of a teardrop. When Izuku inspected the ring, he came across its description: an ability boosts wearer's defense when imminent death is near. Sounding useful, Izuku placed it on his left pinky finger, which fit perfectly. Izuku sat down in the area where the knight once stood and examined the Black Knight Sword. The required strength to wield the sword was 20, and required dexterity 18, so the thought came to Izuku. Maybe if I two-hand wield this, can I use it? As he tested his theory, it worked. Izuku then prayed his quest to return home would become easier. When he made his way up a tower, he noticed another fog wall. While nervousness filled his stomach, he needed to keep moving forward. On top of a bridge, there was no enemy in sight until nearing the other side a demon appeared, making Izuku run like the wind. He was about to trap himself in a corner when he noticed a ladder near the entrance where he came. When the demon stood at the bottom waiting for Izuku, he decided to take the leap and plunged his sword into the beast. Once his sword was stabbed through the head of the demon, he noticed it was heavily bleeding. That's when Izuku remembered his sword dealt 20% extra damage to demons. When the demon was slayed, Izuku continued to walk through the land until he reached an area with a stunning view of the sun, when he realized that it had not changed position since he had arrived. As Izuku was mesmerized with the scenery, he was brought out of his thoughts when he heard a voice. Hello, I'm Solera Vestora. Chapter 5. After Izuku met the Knight Solaire, he was given a peculiar white gemstone which allowed him to call for help from any who laid their sign in the area. Solaire had asked Izuku to help him find the sun. This confused Izuku, but then thought about a deeper meaning which could be a purpose of some kind. Izuku and Solaire conversed about their homes as Izuku spoke and described the vibrant colors, people living in peace. It made Solaire wish to see the kingdom Izuku spoke of. When the two parted ways, Izuku walked towards the bridge only to see a shadow fly over him. As he looked up, it was the dragon who he first saw. Izuku sprinted to a staircase and ran down it. He then saw flames pass through the top of the staircase. Izuku looked around and found the path that led to the bonfire near the merchant. It gave him an idea. He noticed a gain of 555 souls. The plan was to exploit the dragon and farm as many souls as he wanted so he could level up and probably be overpowered. Thus Izuku began to farm souls by getting the dragon's attention and burning down the hollows on the bridge. Izuku rinsed and repeatedly did this until he amassed 22,000 souls. At this point he went to the bonfire and leveled up to make his quest go faster. Izuku Hunter level 163. Vitality 30. Atonement 9. Endurance 40. Strength 20. Dexterity 20. Resistance 11. Intelligence 20. Faith 25. A/N. I know the souls accumulated wouldn't add up to this, but we're gonna make Izuku OP. When Izuku attempted to add more levels into strength, he noticed that the value of what he'd benefit from decreased. Maybe I hit a soft cap, he said to himself. Now it was time to move forward. He faced off with the dragon when he quickly drew his bow and shot an arrow. The beast was hit and lost its tail as the dragon charged at him. Izuku swapped to his Uchigatana. When they clashed, both stood on opposite sides until the dragon's head fell off. Izuku absorbed 2,000 souls for killing the Hellkite dragon. Upon receiving the souls, Izuku also received the Drake sword. The weapon came from the dragon's tail bone. After testing it out, Izuku saw how powerful it really was and made sure to take care of it since it had a special ability. Upon seeing another bonfire, Izuku also saw a broken statue. Alongside it were hollows. When all hollows had been dispatched, Izuku walked up to the altar and was given the chance to join the Covenant of Sunlight, which also granted him the right to learn the Lightning Spear miracle. Although Izuku didn't know how to use his new miracle, he'd probably find someone at Firelink Shrine, but for now he would have to venture forth and continue through Undead Parish. When he passed through the uphill path, there stood a massive boar clad in armor. As it charged directly towards him, he rolled to his left and ran up some stairs only to be met with more hollows. Here we go again. Izuku had decided that he needed to be ruthless to this enemy since he desperately wanted to get back home to Grandma and Grandpa. When all hollows were taken care of, Izuku had walked on a bridge where archers were stationed and saw a wisp off a core. When he picked it up, it was an item called the Luring Skull, which allowed hollows to be attracted to the item upon being thrown. Izuku saw a fire near the wall where he stood. He chucked the alluring skull into it, and the armored boar had gotten attracted to it and cooked itself. When the boar died, it dropped its helm, which protected its face. Izuku wore it for shits and giggles, but decided to find a body of water so he could see his reflection. When he walked inside what looked to be a cathedral, he spotted a massive knight who wielded a mace and giant shield. Once the knight was put down, Izuku saw a core that the knight guarded. The item in question was the soul of a fire keeper. When he read its description, it caught his attention. Can reinforce Estus flask. It struck him that the glowing orange drink can be leveled up as well. As he was lost in thought, he felt something hit him. It wasn't physical, it felt more like energy until it struck him again, and saw a hollow casting blue energy beams. When Izuku ran towards the stairs to eliminate the pest, he was met with a swarm of hollows. Before they charged at him, the priest-looking hollow began to do a ridiculous dance, but noticed the other hollows seemed to get stronger. When one of them struck Izuku, he realized they got a strength boost. Without any room to panic, Izuku stood his ground and raised his shield. When his guard was broken, Izuku rolled away to get some space between him and the hollows. After switching to his Drake sword, he raised the blade above his head and slammed it down, making a trail of wind kill all hollows. After all hollows had been put down, Izuku explored the top floor he was on only to find a ladder. As he climbed up and saw Solaire's name near a fog door, upon touching the name, Solaire's specter appeared and the duo on top of the cathedral, when the gargoyle decorations sprang to life. Chapter 6: Bells of Awakening. After Izuku and a specter of Solaire arrive at the top of the cathedral, one gargoyle had descended from its pedestal and began widely swinging its halberd, almost hitting Izuku and Solaire. The duo had dodged and rolled away, avoiding all attacks until Izuku saw a bolt of lightning hit the gargoyle. When he looked at Solaire, he saw him hold a peculiar charm and thought it must have been a catalyst to cast miracles. As Solaire began to attract more attention from the creature, Izuku took the initiative and attacked it from behind, only to slice off its tail and pick up a weapon from that action. Suddenly a second gargoyle jumped down and began to breathe fire, which made the fight an even 2-on-2. While Solaire had the attention of one of the gargoyles, Izuku focused his attention to the fire breather, and he quickly landed a critical attack on the gargoyle's neck, decapitating it. After slaying the fire breather, he turned to Solaire only to see that he had finished off the other gargoyle, then faded away. "I guess you won't always be around to journey with me." Izuku approached the ladder that led up the bell tower. He climbed up until he reached the highest point, where he saw a lever and pulled it, causing the massive bell about him to ring. When nothing else happened, he climbed all the way back down to reach the cathedral. Upon returning to the spot where the firekeeper's soul was, he looked left and saw an elevator, then right to see a path he had not explored. Upon seeing hollows and slaying them, he continued towards the unexplored path until he heard the sounds of a hammer pounding on metal. He came across a large man working on a blade. "Well, you must be a new arrival. I'm Andre of Astora. If you require smithing, speak to me." "Izuku, hello, do you have any weapons for sale?" Andre then allowed Izuku to browse through the wares, but nothing caught his attention except for the arrows, which would come in handy. After his purchase, he left. "Andre, don't get yourself killed, either of us wants to see you go hollow." After going upstairs, he lit a bonfire and walked back to the church toward the elevator. As he rode it down, he ended up back at Firelink Shrine, which gave him the chance to think, why hasn't anything else happened after he rung the bell of awakening. Upon sitting down near the crestfallen knight, the man told Izuku something interesting. "Crestfallen, did you ring the bell?" Izuku: "Yes, but nothing happened?" "Crestfallen, that's because there are 2 bells when you rang and the other below us in Blight Town." Izuku: "How do I get there?" Upon receiving the information needed, Izuku once again began his quest, this time his destination Blight Town. For some reason he felt like something was missing, but he'd take care of it after Blight Town. After going down into the depths of New Orlando, he found another elevator which took him up and left him on a path called Valley of Drakes. When he spotted a dark cave, he felt like that was his destination. Upon entering, he saw mutated hollow-like creatures. With one attack, the creatures broke through Izuku's guard, causing him to be inflicted with poison. Izuku had felt the poison quickly spreading into his body. After he killed both creatures, one of them dropped purple like moss. Upon inspection, Izuku learned that the item itself cured poison. As Izuku traversed through the swamp area, being weary of how much poison enters his body, until he made it to the bottom where a bonfire waited for him. Once resting at the bonfire, Izuku looked towards a massive marsh which most likely kill him if he attempted to reach the other side. Izuku didn't care what waited on the opposite side because his main goal was to return home. The marsh prevented him from running, which made it seem like he was going at a snail's pace. Izuku was lucky enough to make it to small parts of land that let him recover from poison buildup. After repeating this process a few times, he finally made it to the other side and saw a path leading to a cave. He couldn't continue until he traversed a fog wall. After traversing the fog, there before him was a half-woman, half-spider. Izuku Buck. Chapter 7: The Chaos Witch, Pyromancy and Demons. The moment came when Izuku was faced off with a half-woman, half-spider being. He cursed and prepared his best as she charged towards him. Izuku kept his Black Knight shield up since it had incredible defense against fire. After Quellage attacked using her sword, she dropped her lower body and created a lava flow. Izuku saw the large AoE area of effect attack and created some space and studied his opponent, only to realize that she was slow but dangerous if he got too close to her. As he remembered about his bow, he shot 4 arrows, 2 at the arachnid body and 2 at her human half. What surprised him was the fact that upon hitting her human half, she was stunned. After having his plan in order to ring the second bell of awakening, this may have been the best way to proceed. Izuku calmed himself and shot 2 arrows, which caused Quellage to stagger, and when the opportunity was presented, he hacked and slashed Quellage until she retaliated with her own sword. Izuku created some distance to repeat his tactic until he vanquished his foe. There was a special wisp that dropped. Izuku thought about saving the wisp since it could come in handy sometime down the line. Izuku made his way to the opposite end of the area where Quelage stood and pulled a lever and heard the bell chime. Once the sound faded away, he felt a tremor. Once the tremor subsided, Izuku believed that a massive gate opened up. Then he remembered after meeting the blacksmith he saw a path from that bonfire lead towards a castle. Before Izuku left the domain of the chaos, which he felt there was something hidden. After not finding anything, he punched a wall which faded away. It was a tunnel. As he followed it, he saw something a bit disturbing. He wanted to scream and freak out but held back until he heard it speak. "Oh dear, what have we here? Are you a new servant?" Izuku was a bit confused when asked, so he responded, "Yes." "Humph. But you have no eggs?" "Bah, no matter. Go along and have audience with our fair lady. I pray that you will mind your manners." After the infected man crawled aside, allowing Izuku to pass, there was a bonfire, and in front of him he saw a half-spider half-woman like the one he had just vanquished, but this one appears to be in a weakened state. Izuku was unsure how to proceed, but he tried communicating with her but only received silence. She then lifted her arm out. Izuku kneeled, then felt a surge of power course through his body after taking the fair lady's hand. He was granted knowledge of what he believed to be a spell called Great Chaos Fireball. Izuku then spoke to the man who blocked his way again. "Hello, I am Ingi. I see you have the potential to learn pyromancy. Would you like to?" Izuku: "Yes, I'd like to learn pyromancy." Ingi handed Izuku a small ember of flame that consumed his hand. It didn't harm Izuku. Ingi embraced the flame. Izuku closed his eyes and let his hand be engulfed by the ember, waiting for the searing pain, but it never came, so he opened his eyes and saw flames dancing on the palm of his opened hand. Izuku stepped away and cast the spell Great Chaos Fireball and watched as a ball of flames soared through the air. Izuku appreciated the power given to him and returned a gift to the fair lady. Upon her he gave an offering of 30 humanity. Upon offering the 30 humanity to the fair lady, Izuku once again felt the earth tremble again. Something must have opened up again. The fair lady granted Izuku the knowledge of the spell Chaos Firestorm. Though she still didn't speak, Izuku could tell the fair lady was feeling less pain. "She's absorbing the toxic elements of this place. Maybe humanity eases the pain," he said to himself, then decided he would leave for now and return later. As Izuku left, Ingi had called out to him, "Wait." Izuku turned back and waited to see what he wanted. "Ingi, should you wish to strengthen your flame, please come see me." Izuku inquired about powering up his flame, and Ingi explained to Izuku about ascending his flames. So after the explanation, Izuku ascended his flame 10 times before leaving back to Firelink Shrine. Upon leaving the fair lady, Izuku was heading back up when he saw a path leading elsewhere, so while taking a chance he followed the path, and saw something that terrified him to his core. It looked like hell. As Izuku went farther into the ruins, he saw a massive creature standing far away as if was guarding something. After making his way to the creature, he traversed through the fog wall. The massive demon paid no attention to him. Izuku walked to the area where it seems like it's guarding something. There was a body that appeared to be woman. A wisp hovered over the body. When Izuku grabbed the demon, went in a rage, attacking him. Izuku decided he overstayed his welcome and ran back to where he crossed the fog. When the demon leaped to punch him, the attack never came because its arm got stuck in an arch. While taking advantage of the demon being trapped, Izuku hacked and slashed its hand. After dealing incredible damage, the demon was vanquished. While taking a deep breath, Izuku began making his way back to Firelink. Upon returning to Blight Town, he saw a woman who sat near the entrance of Quelage's domain. "A mere undead, yet you can see me? Fascinating. I am Kaelana of Izalith. I am not often revealed to walkers of flesh. You have a gift. Are you, too, one who seeks my pyromancy?" Chapter 8: Saving Private Solaire. When Izuku had finished speaking with Kaelana, she had requested him to kill her brother Ceaseless Discharge, Quelage, and the Bed of Chaos, who had become her mother. Izuku did his best to complete her request but asked how to make it to the Bed of Chaos. Upon being told about a shortcut, Izuku remembered that he felt the ground tremble when he gifted the fair lady 30 humanity. That's when Kaelana had told him of the shortcut that went from Demon Ruins. Izuku returned to the area where he killed Ceaseless Discharge and noticed the area where the demon stood had turned to solid ground. Izuku made his way through the demon ruins and tried to find a shortcut through the demon ruins when he was confronted by Unique Demon. Izuku had hacked and slashed at the demon, but it just appeared like it only tickled him. I should upgrade my weapon soon, he said to himself, then sprinted past the demon and made his way through the maze-like area of demon ruins. Once he reached a bonfire, then fog wall, Izuku saw there was a path that led towards Down Branch. Izuku took that path, and he had found the shortcut to Lost Izalith. Upon touching a massive wall, it opened up, and Izuku walked beyond only to see large grasshopper-like creatures. They were disgusting, but Izuku began to slaughter them until he spotted one of them that was unique. It had glowing red eyes. This specific sunlight maggot was faster and slightly more resistant, but when Izuku finally killed it, the head remained, and Izuku obtained the sunlight maggot helm, which illuminated the area. Izuku continued forward and lit another bonfire before leaving and making his way back to the surface. Since Izuku couldn't really tell how long he had spent in the demon ruins, there was no point in trying to keep track of time, so Izuku climbed back up from demon ruins to Blight Town, and lastly Firelink Shrine. Once Izuku returned to Firelink Shrine, he had gone back to the Undead Bird to speak with Andre to see what was required for upgrading weapons. Lucky for Izuku, he had tons of Titanite shards, chunks and 2 slabs, so he could upgrade all his weapons. Since Izuku liked to set up his prey with arrows to weaken them, he upgraded his bow to +8. While trying to upgrade his Black Knight weapons, he required Twinkling Titanite, which he had very little of. After having some weapons upgraded, Izuku tried to find clues of where to go until he climbed a floor above Andre's smith's shop to see the doors of the fortress were open. Before heading to the fortress, he made his way back past the demon ruins where he killed the sunlight maggot. He saw a familiar face. It was Solari sitting around a bonfire. Solari, hello friend, it seems that I've been unable to find my sunlight. I'm beginning to lose hope. Izuku, Solaire, what if your sunlight isn't in this kingdom? Maybe if you keep traveling you'll find the light. Solaire, can you tell me of your kingdom? Izuku thought about it for a split second, but all he remembered was a shitty childhood. But during those awful moments he saw the beautiful scenery he was surrounded by. Izuku, my kingdom has trees that rain flowers, a sun that has the brightest light. It may be what you're looking for. Solari, I may have to make a trip to your kingdom to see if it's true, but promise me one thing, brother. Izuku, anything. Izuku said as he sounded excited for the favor Solaire was about to ask. Solaire, don't go hollow on me, he said as he raised his Estus flask over the bonfire, hoping to make sure his new friend kept the promise. When suddenly Solaire vanished into thin air, Izuku began to worry because he didn't want anything bad to happen to his friend. How world? Solaire had appeared in a new world, in a place where it was filled with tombs. Where am I? He asked himself until he saw the name of his brother and friend Izuku Torino. The man kneeled and prayed for his brother. May you awaken soon. Who are you? Solaire heard the voice of a man behind him. Solaire, greetings, I'm Solaire of Astora, and you are? Sorahiko, my name is Sorahiko Torino. Sorahiko said, a bit skeptical before the knight had removed his helm. Solaire, are you by chance the father of Izuku Torino? Sorahiko was angry that someone would use his son's name. Sorahiko, who are you to my son? Sorahiko said as he was ready to fight, but what the strange knight said next surprised him. Solaire, I was a friend and companion to your son. He's truly a brave warrior to be on a quest through Lord Ran. Sorahiko, please come with me and answer a few questions. Solaire, I will, but can we do this here? Sorahiko, why here? Solaire, Izuku will come back, I know it. Sorahiko was floored as he heard his grandson/son was going to revive, so he decided to call Detective Tsukauchi.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.